Young Thug, I saw him. He kept popping up on anything I was on, IG or if it was, Twitter or whatever. And he was on T.I.'s podcast, and they were talking. They got somehow the conversation about Andre 3000 came up. Now I've always been pro the South because I've always said the South sticks together. I've been saying that before we had a podcast. The South always sticks together. They look out for the artists, the young, old, etc. Like I've always said that. I was a little thrown off by this one when they brought up 3 Stacks, and Young Thug was like, I can't rap 2 Andre 3000 songs. Ain't never paid attention to him, never in my life. I'm like, fam, you from Atlanta, so we're gonna do the age gap. I guess what would Young Thug be? Late 20s, if I was to guess. Help me out in the chat. Would he be late 20s? So the fact that he says he's never paid any attention to Andre 3000, but then there's a picture of him with like an airbrushed trench coat that has "I want to be like Andre 3000" and Erykah Badu on the back of it. And I'm like, damn, there's something else that I'm missing here. So then he goes on to talk about, T.I. was like, man, you should work with him. You work with Elton John. Like, why wouldn't you work with 3 Stacks? And, so Young Thug starts to get mad. He's like, the difference between Elton John and Andre is, to simplify it, Elton John likes to kiss ass and Dre likes his ass kissed. So I'm like, what this sounds like to me that there was a feature or something that he reached out to and he didn't get it. Like that's what it sounds like to me, because Andre 3000 has done nothing but big up dude in any interview that he's done. And it's rare that he says anything. So he's always giving pride. He talked about Young Thug when he was at Five. How these kids are just taking it to the next level. He can't keep up. He mentioned all that. So here's my question to you guys, because like I said, we've always talked about the relationship in the South. He's getting dragged online for his comments about this. Do you guys think it's just him? It's okay for him just to have his opinion and be cool with it? Or is there some form of disrespect here because he's from Atlanta and because Stacks has done nothing but big him up throughout his entire career? Because I'm seeing people drag him for and look at this as a lack of disrespect. People can have their opinion, so it might be a little strong. Spoolz, I'm gonna come to you first. Is this a lack of disrespect, or is he just mad because he didn't get a feature?
I don't think it's a lack of disrespect, by the way. Yeah, okay, yeah, you're right.
That's what I meant to say. Is this disrespect? My fault, I misspoke.
I don't know, man. Who knows? That's when stuff like this, when we end up talking about stuff like this that happens. Obviously Young Thug and Andre 3000 know each other, you know what I mean? I guess to some degree. And like you said, maybe something happened, maybe something went on, it's obviously not, behind the scenes or between them or whatever, but who knows, dude? He might do an interview next week and say, I was just really high. I didn't mean
True.
that shit. Who cares? Like, I don't.
True.
I think
we know. Of a deal.
Yeah, that, and I've never. I might get crucified for this one. I don't know, maybe not, but whatever. I don't think Young Thug's as great as everybody seems to think he is.
Oh, don't say that. They're gonna call you. You'll be 75 years old by the time this podcast is over. They're gonna.
I agree. I don't think I listened to all like his Jeffrey when that came out, and I was just like, everybody's like, fucking masterpiece and he's a genius and all this, and I was just like, really, man? Like, not to like put him down or anything like that. I appreciate, I don't know, and it's that kind of I appreciate everyone's individuality and stuff like that, but it's kind of like the same like shock shit that I think he's done on purpose. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, man. Seems kind of gimmicky, and I don't know.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's they drag it.
I would personally say he doesn't have room to say anything. You know what I mean, about someone like an Andre 3000, but he wasn't talking about his music or or anything like that. It just sounds like, again,
I think he got curved on a verse or something like that and just spilled out in the interview, because T.I. was bigging up Stacks like, man, if you're gonna work with Elton John, you got to work with the dude from half of the best group to ever come out the South that's from your area. Like, you gotta try to rock with him. Like, T.I. was coming at it from that standpoint. Y'all will work well together, but I think he was still in his feelings on the on getting curved about a verse or something. Lone, you got anything else to add on this one, or are you pretty much good in terms of on this?
I don't know if it's I don't know enough about it.
Concept. Let me ask
and I don't. Okay, concept of what?
I mean, what I'm asking is, even if it's just not this specific, just in general, the fact that he has his opinion is getting crucified for saying what he wants to say about a legend. Like, is that overboard?
Like
because I see him getting dragged.
I feel like he can say whatever he wants to say. But you know, it's just like you got freedom of speech, you're not freedom of consequences, right? So just mention that multiple times.
It's a bar.
It's just like where are we? Like, I don't know, man. I don't know about Thug's relationship with Andre. I think it's interesting. They're both from Atlanta. From what you're saying and what I've heard people say, you know, Andre has extended the hand. So, I mean, at least as far as support, I don't know if they've ever been on a song together. I honestly don't know. Have they been on a song together? Like a remix or something? Or, yeah.
Not that I know. Chat, y'all can tell us. I don't think so.
But, like, I don't know. It comes across, I mean, stuff like that always comes across a little bit bitter, you know, like when you're mad that somebody's not doing something for you. But this was brought up. This wasn't just him making a statement. This was somebody asking him a specific question, though, right?
Yeah, it was T.I. You know, Andre 3000's. I didn't see the exact moment. I kind of read it, but he came up and then they started to just talk about him, what he means to the South, and asked him about his relationship and what he thought about him, and are y'all planning on working together, that type of stuff. And then it went into, you know, the story about 𝐻𝗔𝗥𝗧𝗡𝗘𝗥𝗏 versus So that's what makes me think. So
yeah, maybe I should pay attention a little bit more. But
are you good?
Because you definitely said that. Yeah, it just seems unnecessary. I don't know, to be honest. Like, just keep it moving. Like, unless he specifically feels like. To me, he wouldn't have said anything unless he feels slighted somehow by Andre, and so there's obviously something there. But yeah, I mean that's
the chat.
Really, nothing more to really say. But
more, I'm coming to you, but the chat is putting comments left and right on this one. See, Nicole said his stylist picked out the jacket. You might be right on that one. She said she thinks it's funny that people really care. And in regards to his talent, Jeezy said he puts out way too much music. That's the problem. It's diluted in the product. It's diluted his product a little bit. That could be fair. I haven't listened enough to know, but that could be fair. Cole says she doesn't think he got curved. I'm going to disagree. I think there's something else that's underneath there outside of, you know, what they were talking about. That's just my opinion. But it's his opinion, so he can say what he wants, but people definitely out here dragging him. I don't even think Andre really cares. Probably not. But T.I. kind of, you know, definitely came in the bat for him. More, did you see any of this? Read any of this? Heard anything about this?
No. I've been on top of this.
Okay.
It's 100% personal.
All over it.
You know, the thing is, I don't see how anyone could see it. There's no way that Young Thug doesn't know two of Andre 3000's verses. Maybe doesn't know him by heart, but you know, he knows the basics of what Andre 3000, whether it be through Outkast or even where it be something like the Walk It Out remix, or
thank you,
you know, something like that, where or just a verse that he threw out. I guarantee you, or something that he, you know, through a Gangsta Grillz mixtape, he knows an Andre 3000 verse. He knows more than two. It's clearly something personal, probably where, you know, for all the times Andre has spoke about him, you know, they've probably had some conversation, and, you know, maybe because there's a generation gap there, maybe Young Thug didn't take it in the way that it was supposed to be received. I do think there might be something like that going on. But you know, look, I'm of the hip hop generation. I know more than 3 Temptation songs. You know what I'm saying? Just, I mean, for Young Thug to act like he doesn't know more, growing up in Atlanta, doesn't know more than 2 Andre 3000 songs or verses. I'm not saying he has to know them verbatim. You know,
I don't buy
the fact that if you put on So Fresh, So Clean, or you know, Elevators, or Miss Jackson,
Southern Playalistic, Miss Jackson,
for him to act like, I doubt he'd be like, oh, I've never heard this before. That's just some certified bullshit on his end. So I really do think there's something personal going on. I don't really care that much to find out what it is. because at the end of the day, Andre 3000's legacy in hip hop, if he never puts out another guest verse, if he doesn't put out a solo album, it's solidified.
Facts.
Young Thug, on the other hand, I mean, I understand that I'm a generation removed from it, and I hear his music in the club, and I'm not one to listen to an entire project because I'm sorry, I know what it is that I like. There are a lot of young cats out here I do like. Young Thug is not one of them, that I listen to in my spare time.
Careful, you're getting older. You're getting older by the minute.
That's fine. That's fine. I really don't give.
I know you don't. I know you don't.
Anybody who's listening to this podcast knows they're the young cats that I big up on a regular basis.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Just because I don't like Young Thug, like I said, how much do you like? Because the people who big him up, how much do you really like Young Thug, or are you just one of those people that like to argue?
Preach, preacher. You better preach, preacher.
So
Go ahead now.
I just really think that and the thing is, it's a thing that young rappers really need to be wary of, because just imagine if when the Wu-Tang Clan came out, they were like, man, I don't know anything by Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. Like that's hip hop at that point, because hip hop was so new and so young. At that point, that was several generations removed from what they were doing in 1995 compared to what was going on in 81, 82, 83. But you would never hear a rapper from that era say something like that. If anything, they just always bigged up, the Big Daddy Kanes, the Rakims, the Grandmaster Caz. They always knew their history. Now
that part has changed. That part has changed
into not knowing what happened more than 5 years ago, and they almost wear it as they almost wear their ignorance as a badge of honor, and I think that needs to stop. But like I said,
I'm with you there 100%.
He should be catching the heat that he's catching for not, because if it's personal, let it be personal, but don't come out and say that you don't know Andre's records, man. You're from Atlanta. That's just not true. And honestly, you should damn near be ashamed of yourself by even saying that out loud.